Good morning, everybody. 22nd of March 2025. It's exactly 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Temperature, I have no idea. It's a little bit chilly in areas where there's some wind. Right now I ducked in between, you guys can see. I don't like the way they have these cameras angled. Otherwise I got to hold it up like this before you guys can see where I'm actually at. But it's sort of surrounded by apartment buildings, so you know, little corridors like right over there where some wind can come through, and it actually does a little bit. It's not too cold, not too bad, and except for right now. But when there's no wind, of course, it's not that cold. And of course later on it's going to be quite warm. You don't even need a coat. That's like yesterday. But let's get on with some news, if there really even is anything shaking, any news. It's kind of like disappointing, that we're hearing the same stuff over and over and over again. It's getting like monotonous, the news. You can even go back as far as Trump talking about peace between Ukraine and Russia, and the ceasefires and all that sort of stuff. There's we're right near it. We're right near. Trump, first remember when he was campaigning, he says, within 1 day or 24 hours, as a matter of fact, even before I become president, I'll establish peace between Russia and Ukraine. And here we are, And what were we on? Just how many days ago, or was it a week? Nearly a week ago. We're on the 10-yard line, and we're just about there to have I don't know if that was about the ceasefire or the peace or whatever sort of a deal. And then you hear these things coming out of Ukraine. Oh, the wind's blowing through here. And Ukraine says, no, we don't want to give up those territories. No, we don't want this. And they haven't changed at all, really. And then sometimes you hear Trump or somebody say, oh yes, it's changed. Now we want, Zelensky wants peace. Zelensky would give up territory. And then the next day, or a matter of fact, even the same day, Zelensky says, no, I'm not going to give up any territory. I don't know. So it's the same thing over and over again. And who knows what the heck the real truth is. It's too windy over here. I got to go back to some, I'd like to rather take you guys to, instead of showing you the same landscape all the time, the same views, to, oh, look at this, an old Soviet car. Look at this from the 70s. It's incredible. A purple car. See if I can get closer so you guys can see it. Passenger just got in. I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for somebody else. I think it might be a Lada. I don't know. I don't know if they want me to come up here and look close at their car or not. Oh, it's a Moskva, or whatever they call those things. Stinker cars. No, the Germans had stinker cars, Trabants, that were like two-stroke and produced a lot of pollution. And now they had a stink to them, so they called them stinker cars. And I think they're made from fiberglass. Trabant. They called them Trabants. And of course they had Wartburgs and other cars too, but anyway, let's not talk about cars. There's a Volvo, by the way. And here's a Buick in front of us. So anyway, this I don't know. It's kind of like we're getting strung along, I guess I would say. We're just about ready. We're just about at a peace deal and all that. And it's like, come on, I mean, every day. And then they said, oh, we're going to have a big breakthrough on news on Monday. And then when Monday comes, they said, oh, it's going to be Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, they said it's going to be Sunday. I don't know, which means tomorrow. I mean, that's the next one. They just keep on doing this. And it's just the same thing. You get the same news all the time. Oh, we're close to a peace deal. And then you get the same other news about Israel's bombing somebody constantly. The United States is constantly bombing Yemen. They're bombing and bombing and bombing. I think it was the 5th straight night now. And there was some footage, I guess, showing, I'm not sure which ship, but, huge amounts of bombs. And they're going to fire them all at Yemen, killing a lot of innocent people. I don't even think they know where there's any targets. They're just bombing the place and killing a lot of children and all that as well. Yemen says, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep on going. And I guess they're bombing like the Ben Gurion airport. It's kind of terrorizing. You never hear of anything being damaged. Maybe these things are shot down. I have no idea. But you never hear if anything got damaged, like on the SS Harry Truman aircraft carrier or the escorting ships, that are now being fired on by the Houthi, or Ansar Allah. I don't know. You don't hear about it. God, why am I getting all these breezes? Over here it was not so breezy. Maybe I'll have to stand over here. Standing, look at like a weird looking guy with long hair standing in a children's playground. You know, sounds like Britain, doesn't it? Sounds like Great Britain. You know, crazy crap about Great Britain. There was somebody released a video, I guess, or maybe it was the last day or so, even though I don't watch so much of this stuff, but the guy's talking, and he came to Minsk. Some guy, he came to Minsk, and he was talking about his trip, just getting to the airport, getting to London, getting to the airport, and how screwed up it is, and how all these migrants are doing this. He was pickpocketed. You know, this is in Great Britain, by the way. Pickpocketed, and like migrant children running around all over in some hotel. He's talking about and terrorizing the place, and screaming and who knows what. You know, and he was saying how terrible it was, and that the hotels are filled with a whole bunch of migrants, of course, staying there free. You know, the British government's putting them in expensive hotels free of charge. It's much like what they do in the United States. You know, so it's like, well, who wouldn't be wanting to run to the United States or Great Britain when you're getting luxury accommodations free of charge? And this reminds me of when I'm talking about 1980s, when I was in Europe, and I've even talked to people that were from different countries, like from Russia and places, and that they lived in Paris, and you know, they learned the French language so very, very well that, you know, they were hearing about all the French talking about, even back then, about all these people coming over and getting all this stuff from the government, and it's the taxpayers' money. And so this program, this was going on for a long, long time. It's just that they kept escalating it, and I think part of the reason might be because they think that maybe their own population are not having enough babies, so they have to bring in all these migrants that have a lot of babies for the economy or something like that. You know, to hell with the culture. You know, they want more money for them. I'm not sure exactly what the whole reason is. You can hear about all the horror stories of Great Britain. There were like neighborhoods that were all British and, you know, very traditional British neighborhoods, and now they're nothing but a whole bunch of migrants pooping in the streets and in the stairwells and everything else, and it's like terrible. Stabbings and beatings and gang violence and grooming, you know, and there's even, you know, girls putting like and I guess they were attacked, believe it or not, some women, young girls, they put something up on TikTok or whatever, you know, how they were groomed and all that, and the next day the Metropolitan Police you know, come and knocking and pounding on their door, and I didn't watch the whole video, you know, but anyway, these girls were threatened, you know. They're threatened by the people that are supposed to be enforcing the law, because she reported people that were breaking the law, and they don't do anything about it. And it's incredible. And it's, you know, Keir Starmer, the guy who's leading Britain, he was a part of all this. It's all covered up. It's just terrible, you know. And then they talk bad about Belarus. Nothing like that happens in Belarus, at least not under Lukashenko. And you gotta hope, you know, and there's some people that are even saying this. They're saying they hope Lukashenko never leaves. And I cannot disagree with them. You know, like I said, you know, you come here and a lot of the Belarusians are, you know, they're convinced by propaganda coming from the West that they're living in misery in Belarus. And I wanted to interview a guy, and I might even be able to do that pretty soon. I was even thinking about today, later on this afternoon, and he's the guy that told me when I saw him in the metro, he's an American, he's in medicine and all, and he says Belarusians need to get out more, you know. And then what he's meaning is, obviously, you know, they don't know what it's like in the West, you know, and they think they have a miserable life here. And then so you see people walking in peace, no rapes, no stabbings, no drug use, you know, no corruption. I mean, the list goes on, and yet they think that this is bad. And it's so many foreigners, you know. There's a guy even from Canada, he's in my class, and we're all like wondering, what is wrong with these people, you know. Gosh, you know, it's like, you know, we don't even know what to say. You don't even know what to ask, you know. What the heck are you talking about? you know, and it's just, to me, it's just it's just proof how effective they are at brainwashing people, and they do it all over. They do it in the States. They brainwash you to believe stuff that has no basis in truth whatsoever. It's just, to me, it's just totally fascinating. I mean, there's so many things that interest me, you know, and that's one of them. How do these people actually do this stuff? I mean, and you can figure it all out, but you know, you got to sit down and write, and it might take many, many months to figure out, well, how in the heck do they convince normal people of something? What is that? I think we mentioned this in other videos, as somebody wrote to me as well, and a lot of maybe the main word is cognitive dissonance, and you know, it's very true. But there's other ways to explain this, and you know, I see cognitive dissonance as something like, you know, being hypnotized when you're not even hypnotized, you know, and it's like you deny the nose on your face that it even exists. The sky is not blue, it's pink or something like that, you know, and they convince people to do this, like living in a matrix. It's just absolutely fascinating. So anyway, that's not part of my news that I was going to be talking about. Let's see, what am I at here? And let's see. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, are we getting fooled as well by saying we're so close to a ceasefire, we're so close to a peace, you know? And Russia is also saying, well, we don't really want a ceasefire, we want a permanent peace. And I don't know. And Trump is acting like, yes, okay, I agree with that. And then you see Great Britain and all that, and saying, what was this? What was the latest threat from Keir Starmer? I think he was threatening to drop nuclear bombs on Russia if Russia does anything to the peacekeepers that he probably won't even be sending anyway to Ukraine under a United Nations, not NATO, United Nations mandate. Gosh dang it, no. So now United Nations is involved, you know, with armies. And as you know, there's a big push to try to get Ukraine into the EU. And it's kind of inevitable that the EU, and they're even talking about it, they have been for even a couple of years, that they're going to have their own army, you know, their own military. And in a sense, and you know, people are saying, oh, Trump's going to get out of NATO. Well, guess what? If Trump gets out of NATO, you know, NATO will be a de facto army of the European Union. So they don't even need to change anything. All they need to do is tear up a few papers, make a few new papers, and start signing some signatures, and there it is. Voila, voila. You know. So, you know, maybe Trump shouldn't get out of NATO in order to hold peace, you know, but not commit any troops or anything. Just, you know, never abolish the paperwork. I don't know. All kinds of tricks politicians can do. I guess I can, if I think about it, maybe I can be a tricky politician too. You know, most of the time I don't have such a dastardly mind to be thinking of all this crap. I mean, and even look at Trump, you know. You know, we're sitting there, he says, I gotta stop the killing, that's the main thing. But what about this killing in the Middle East? You know, what about his own killing? What about his killing the people in Yemen? I mean, the Yemenites, I mean, you think about the Houthis. They might, you know, be in the running for some of the most moral-minded people on the planet. It's certainly not the Israeli government, and it's certainly not even the Trump administration, and it's certainly not, definitely not the European Union. You know, I would maybe, if you want to find moral people that really do want to stop war, and they do want peace, and they just want to trade and, you know, carry on with their own business, you know, you'd have to think that the Houthis might be some of those types of people. You know, they want Israel to stop punishing and killing and you know, just the regular genociding and impoverishing the people of Gaza, you know, blockading it, blocking medications, and are in effect actually killing the people. They want them out of there, and they want to take over. You know, and here we're talking about Trump saying he wants to make it a luxury resort. Well, guess what? Israel just put out, was it yesterday or was it today, that if Hamas does not release the hostages, that they are going to permanently annex Gaza. And, you know, the first thing that went into my head is, well, what does that have to do? I mean, does that have some sort of relation with what Trump is talking about? That he wants to, first of all, just temporarily remove all of the Gazans and make the place a resort for rich people. And then, of course, they can come back if they want to buy an apartment for $1 million, which they don't have. Things like that, you know? Gosh. In other words, just have them temporarily leave and they won't be able to come back, you know? But that's just a minor detail, so don't pay attention to that. Wow. Yeah, but anyway, the bombing that Israel is conducting, not just on Gaza. It's just like it was at the worst times when they were bombing Gaza like a year ago, you know, before the so-called ceasefire. And yeah, they're bombing more than just Gaza. I wrote a little bit about that later. It's not really much news about it, but I'll talk about it in a minute anyway. And I don't know, there was supposed to be a ceasefire there, and of course, and I guess there was some high Israeli official that came out and said that Israel broke it. You know, I don't know, there was some big admission. I don't know, he's probably in really deep trouble now, but it was Israel that did it. So maybe he's tired of seeing his own government just killing innocent people. I don't know. Satan Yahoo, as Yuta called him. So, okay. And another thing, ceasefires. What about the ceasefire in Russia? Well, in Russia and Ukraine, and the two countries are supposed to stop bombing each other's infrastructure. And Russia has not been bombing any, you know, energy infrastructure or any infrastructure at all of Ukraine. But Ukraine has never ceased bombing. As a matter of fact, they've even escalated it. They bombed that. What was it, a pipeline metering station, huge, you know, massive destruction on that. And it's where the like a conduit of the last remaining pipeline that sends gas to Europe is located. And yeah, but a lot of people are also saying that it's not necessarily Zelensky that's at fault for that, but it's the Azov people. And Zelensky, you know, they're the Nazis, the real Nazis, the deep, terrible, the worst Nazis, supposedly. And they don't obey Zelensky. They do what they want to do. And a lot of people are also saying that Zelensky does not dare stop the war because they will kill him. They will kill him if he even considers stopping the war. I don't know. But you know, they almost had that, what is it? It wasn't even a ceasefire. It was a peace, I guess, in 2022. And then Boris Johnson was sent there to stop it. And everybody knows that, even if Boris Johnson tries to deny it. You know, the British government has come out and said that even. So, you know, all these politicians, great at lying, great liars. Okay. There was this has nothing to do with any real geopolitical news, but it's something that's disturbing, you know, and it's also has a little bit to do with even Belarusian, you know, beautiful young girls and things. There's a lot of them in Belarus, and most people know that there's a reputation of Belarus of having a lot of young, beautiful, slender, fantastic women. Really take care of themselves here, and so, you know, that's where the reputation comes from. But it's to a large extent also, you know, in Ukraine and Russia as well. More so in Belarus, I have to admit. A lot of people know that. But in Ukraine, you know, there's, sure, there's beautiful ones. You never know when you're going to get a real crazy one that'll maybe stab you with a knife in your sleep or something if they come from Ukraine. You know, there's some real crazy people, women included, even the young, beautiful girls there, you know. So anyway, some girl, and I think they even have her name. What was it here? I think Maria Kovalchuk, I guess. I don't know why they would put her name in there, but anyway. And they have a picture of her, very beautiful, you know, really beautiful. And she went to maybe the Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, some country like that over there. And then she was at some party and disappeared. I mean, they said, well, all of a sudden they didn't know where she was at that time. And I don't know, maybe the next day they found her or whatever at near some construction site. Multiple fractures, her back was broken, and really, she'll never walk again. You know, they didn't kill her, but you know, a lot of time what happens is these beautiful girls, and who knows how this comes about. it's none of my business for the most part. Uh, but anyway, there's a lot of these rich people in these Arabic countries, oil sheiks are very wealthy people, and they make some arrangements and they get girls from these places. They pay their way, they fly them down, and they have these big sex weekends and things like that with them, or a day or two, and make appointments, and yeah, and then they fly back. Normally, this one, it's not going to have probably the option of just going down there, whether she enjoys it or not, and and then flying back. And a lot of them are paid very well. And there's some even in Belarus that you see. There's certain areas that you go to, where there's really expensive bars and things, and you see these, very attractive girls sitting there, with their sunglasses and their drink and fancy clothes, nice hairdos and all. And they don't seem to even be appear to be looking at any men or anything there. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 of them, maybe 4, I don't know. Maybe sometimes even just 1, but they don't seem to be interested in, men or whatever. And I don't ever really see any men going to try to pick up on them or nothing like that. But you can kind of tell by where the areas they're at. And of course, there's gambling is allowed in Belarus. It's not allowed in Russia. And so you have sometimes rich Russians come over here too, and then they have their girlfriends. And maybe some of these girls are, I don't know what you say, clients or whatever of some of these Russian men. And yeah, and they just sit around and have, a drink for maybe $20, for a drink, and expensive meals for, I don't know, $100 meals and things like that. So anyway, that's what that's all about. And some of them do not come to very happy ends, and I don't know if that's any kind of a life anyway. I don't know. Just wanted to put that out. Okay. Yeah, but that was terrible about this girl. She looked very nice, looked beautiful, all that, and no future anymore, really, nothing. So that's the point I'm just trying to make. And we all got to be careful about what we do in life and the choices we make. And I don't know, it's not easy. Okay. Yeah, I was going to mention that about Israel. Not only are they bombing and very badly bombing Gaza, and they're bombing Syria, and I think they bombed it was the airport area, and they're bombing Lebanon, and now I guess Lebanon has decided they're going to retaliate. There was a ceasefire, and Lebanon has not bombed anywhere in Israel at all, or done anything serious since November. So now they're starting, I guess. So it's it's very, 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 it makes you wonder why is Netanyahu still there, Satanyahu, and I don't know. And then the U.S. helping him, Donald Trump, of course, he's planning to bomb Yemen to smithereens. The nice guy that says he wants to stop all the killing. And Yemen is the poorest country in the Middle East already. And like I said, they have high moral standards, and of course, we're all supposed to ignore that. And there's just so much stuff going on. I think it was Steve Witkoff. He was having an interview with Tucker Carlson as well, and he was saying he saw some film footage of some Hamas people sawing the head off of an Israeli soldier. And I was wondering, well, why did Israel never put that out? Even with blocking out some kind of stuff, where if they block it out, you can't tell if it's actually happening or not. Israel always comes up with some fake crap, and so does Ukraine. Nazis and ideology is very similar to that. They're always doing that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know if the Baltics have come up with fake footage like that as well, but anyway. But they are also of that persuasion. I'm talking about the governments, of course. And yeah, I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. He said he saw the footage, and as mountains of evidence are put out, that of course it was Israel killing Israelis on October 7th. And I'm surprised I'm able to say that. Maybe that's one reason why my videos are being suppressed. I was going to talk about that too, about who is the real power in the world. Okay, and let's get with that right now. There's a lot of talk now about the Epstein files, and I was mentioning that. I think some other people have noticed that. And of course, at the very, very beginning, you could have seen it coming. They gave these 5 notebooks or these folders or binders, let's say, to 5 entities, and all of them are pro-Israel. One of them is somebody from the Anti-Defamation League, which is considered a terrorist organization by a lot of people. And it was a woman, so no, she's not a terrorist, But anyway, she's works with the ADL. And the other ones were, I guess, media people that were all pro-Israel. That makes you wonder, well, why didn't they make 10 folders and give some that are not categorized as being very pro-Israel? And it's strange that nothing has really come out. Only the flight logs, the same old stuff. Very, very weird. And these people they're kind of like celebrating and holding up their binders and stuff. Well, they're celebrating probably that they're going to be able to cover it up. I don't know. And then Pam Bondi, I don't know if she's getting strung along or whatever. It's also about the JFK files. That stuff is not really being released either. It's a lot of big disappointments. And some people were already saying that a lot of that information that they have about JFK is some stuff that everybody already knows. And even the stuff that we already know. Well, what is it? Do we already know it, or is it what so-called conspiracy theorists have put out? Which is probably a lot of true stuff. And of course, even at that time, that was a huge operation, killing Kennedy. And those involved, the people involved, it's not like they didn't plan this, and they didn't have a lot of plans to create distractions, to have the evidence looking in all kinds of different directions, to make everybody get confused and not really know what was going on. So that's pretty much what happened. And so what is the truth? I don't know. Does it lie within these documents? What about some people that are very good at investigating and using their brains, having access to a lot of these documents and spending a lot of time, and of course it might even take a few months to find out the real truth. But why is nothing really coming out? So that's all of this is very strange. Well, who is involved? Yeah. And like I said, what was this? There's very much talk about Epstein files. And they said it is because the FBI and the Department of Justice are complicit in what was going on with Epstein. Well, that's true as well. And of course, they're trying to make us all look over there, FBI, Department of Justice. Don't look over here at Israel. Don't look over here, Boy. So Israel's not really mentioned. There are some people, independent journalists, that are also saying, well, what about Israel? And we all know, that there are very, very strong ties with Israel and Epstein. So, how come that's not mentioned? And it's some guy coming over here. Anyway, it's the men behind the curtain. And then it's like the truth. They take the truth and they put it in a prison, and then they show us the men behind the curtain, but we don't see the truth, because that's put in a box and locked away somewhere and nobody's able to see it. It's very interesting stuff. Come up with a lot of different theories on how this stuff is actually, coming out to play. And along with that, what I was going to say, and it's like, well, what? You have to ask yourself, well, who is more powerful? Is it the deep state? Remember when we thought it was Soros and the World Economic Forum, and then we're finding out like Soros was heavily, heavily backed by U.S. aid money, and the World Economic Forum has been, overshadowed by other different sort of let's say entities such as Blackwater, and Blackwater is not really part of this deal of cover-ups and secret this and overthrows and regime changes and stuff. They're just a very powerful entity that has a lot of money and a lot of influence on making things happen the way they want it to happen. So it's not like Blackwater is a bunch of guys. It's just some rich guys and trying to influence things to, for their benefit, but not with sneaky stuff. At least that. But they got a lot of money, more money than any country. So But it's becoming, and like I said, and this is where you can start, making the dots, and it's not difficult to connect them. Say, well, why didn't they cheat to make sure that Trump does not get elected and put Kamala Harris, who would be a very easy puppet to control? So why didn't that happen? And so why did they let Trump in? And I'll tell you why. Because Trump was backed by Israel. And Israel has tremendous power. They have tremendous power with people that are even part of the deep state in the Congress, the U.S. Congress. I mean, you guys know this stuff. So it looks like this time they had a lot of precedence. More, of course, than the deep state. And it looks like Israel is more powerful than the deep state. And, because they have their little agendas, and when they want things to go in their direction in certain areas, which they're not, they're not involved in so many other things. But as far as the Middle East, and that took precedence, and Israel put a lot of money and a lot of, I don't know, what do you say, twisting the arms and all that, of a lot of politicians and things, rich people, they're in control of a lot of rich people in the United States, rich entities. I didn't even say Disneyland or these news outlets and all this. And it looks like they put a lot of resources into making sure that Trump is going to be the one there. And you have to say, well, why is that? What was the deal that maybe Trump made with Israel? Like I said, I'm just kind of making some dots, and we can connect them all in any way we want to. And I'm pretty sure that these dots are actual real dots, and they're not just smears on the paper. So you can connect them, and then it'll draw a big picture for you. Okay, I was going to say something. Maybe it's Putin. Putin's behind it all. Putin. Oh yes, indeed. Okay. And yeah, it's like Trump. He's more subservient to Israel than anything else. And I think Jimmy Dore, I didn't even watch it. I really wanted to watch it, but he's talking about Tulsi Gabbard's 180-degree turn. Not 360 like Baerbock, but a 180-degree turn, and she's actually a very moralistic person. And you got to consider that Tulsi Gabbard, if she didn't make that 180-degree turn, she would not be where she's at. She would maybe even be destroyed, because it looks like Israel is that powerful, and so she's got to be talking against the Houthis, maybe pro-Israel. And that she is actually, at heart, she is actually humanistic. She's pro-human. So, and if Tulsi Gabbard is gone, then there's no chance of Tulsi, and obviously they're never going to put her in a position where she actually has any power of decision making, over justice in the Middle East, compared to Israel and these other countries that Israel is bombing and all that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of this shows us, even I'm not talking about Tulsi Gabbard in this instance, but you talk like Soros, USAID, all this, that even a lot of these entities, these deep state entities, they are scared of Israel. And it lets you know who is the more powerful, who controls the most powerful government on earth. Not a very difficult question to ask, is it? Wow. So there was a lot of this. There was a guy. His name is Jason Goodman, and he was asking a lot of sort of similar questions. And he's a, what is it? A crowdsource. He's for crowdsource, and yeah. And he's mentioning also, like I said, a lot about this, about the JFK files, and that John F. Kennedy, he was getting, I don't know, very persuasive kind of against Israel and their nuclear program that we're not supposed to think even exists. We're supposed to ignore it. Oh, what about a bunch of ridiculous crap here? Okay, anyway, enough about Israel for now. What about Erdogan? What about Turkey? There's these huge protests. I haven't been mentioning that. And it's not that I don't see that it's important or not, but it's there's just too many things to cover. I didn't want to try to cover everything. The videos are already long enough. But there's these protests, and of course it was because Erdogan, he decided to jail his chief competitor, which was the mayor of Istanbul, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, see what's going on, get rid of the opposition, and it's a very bold move on the side of Erdogan. And who knows on whose side Erdogan is? Is Erdogan the loose cannon? One day he points this direction, one day he's pointing for this one, and all this. So to a large extent, he's just depends on which direction the wind is blowing. It's I don't think he's really maybe his time is up. I think maybe they ought to kind of remove him. I don't mean remove him, but he needs to go, like get phased out. He shouldn't have arrested his guy. Hey, young guy. I don't have this kid. Smotrich video. YouTube. Okay. So, I don't know, a little bit of this. It might even be linked to what's going on between Trump and Erdogan. As far as Trump is now going to allow Erdogan to purchase F-35s, but I guess it comes along with the condition that Erdogan has to, what do they call mothball or get rid of or stop using his S-400 air defense system, that's from Russia. And then he can buy the American F-35s, and to me it's like a bunch of weird questions. Say, well, what does the Russian-made air defense system have to do with the F-35? So I don't know. I suppose maybe part of that means that Trump expects Erdogan to buy the Patriot air defense system, which has been proven to not be that effective. So, and it's not as effective as the S-400, and of course there's the S-500. I don't know if Russia is actually selling that to any country, and of course they continually make upgrades to a lot of this stuff anyway. So maybe there's a S-500 plus, and it covers a huge area. Then there's the S-300. I guess is more for short range things. I don't know if you need to get all the S-300 for the short range or whatever, low flying missiles. I'm not so concerned about it. They're just air defense systems mostly. And but the S-500, I know that it has very, very long range. It can shoot down things I don't know, really far distances away. Up in the higher atmosphere they can shoot those things down. Maybe things, I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm getting at. Okay. But I don't know why Turkey would want the F-35. It's turned out to be a huge boondoggle. It's incredibly expensive. Nobody really gets it to work, the F-35. And the United States is not going to give their best version to Turkey anyway. And you can't fly the F-35s in bad weather. And then, of course, now the United States says they're coming out, what Donald Trump says, he's coming out with the F-47, some new airplane. It's supposed to be better than the best. And if you find something that's great, and you find something that's greater than great, this is even greater than great, is what Trump is trying to say. There's nothing like it ever created in the world history, and all that. I guess that's what they said about the F-35 too. Look at these hands, look at these beautiful hands. Trump, how he is, the greatest economy that has ever existed on Earth and in all of history, and then Biden ruined it, and don't forget it was COVID going on at that time, and it definitely could not have been the greatest economy during all the crap they were doing with COVID. Trump was making some very good improvements, of course, but all these exaggerations, everything that Trump touches is the best of the best and has never been better. Come on. But so need I say more? Say no more. Okay. Let's see. I talked about this stuff already, like Israel bombing all these places. I also have this question. This new leader of Syria. I question the guy's mental capabilities. They say that he's sort of a puppet of Erdogan, and yet he has nothing against Israel coming in and taking huge portions of Syria. And basically he lets Israel do whatever Israel wants. And he's yet a puppet of Turkey. Turkey's supposed to be against Israel doing all of this stuff. So I'm kind of thinking, maybe he's not really a puppet of Turkey so much, or maybe this guy is just incredibly, I mean, and it's not his fault, but he has to be incredibly weak because you have to allow Israel to do whatever Israel wants. And if you try to fight back against Israel, which maybe they don't even have the capability, because Israel has destroyed virtually everything, all air defenses and everything that that country has, and they continue to bomb and say it's military things they're bombing. I thought they destroyed everything already anyway. And so, you can't fight against Israel, and even if they do try, then the United States will bomb them, which they're, the United States has a big portion of Syria already. Syria is gone. It's just terrible. It's gone. It is gone. The leader, and Putin is supposed to be flying over there and talking to the leader. What I don't know. But, Russia still has that, what is it? I don't know, it's Tartus, whatever the naval base there. And it's like, I guess they can stay there. I think this leader is just, and he almost has to be incredibly weak. And I think Annalena Baerbock, who they're trying to push to be the United Nations General Secretary, which is the biggest mistake that the United Nations could ever make in their entire history. But anyway, he refused to shake hands with her again, maybe because she's a woman or whatever. I don't know. So, no big deal. Guy's got a weird walk, too. You gotta watch how he walks. I can't remember even his name. I don't know. Very shaky, weird stuff going on. What the whole thing is about Syria anyway. Now, why would you take over a country when you can't do anything? I don't know. I guess we can all look at that historically and say, well, look what happens when you overthrow some government like this. And Assad, I don't know, would you call it weak, or he's just too much of a nice guy? The brutal Assad, but he's actually just too much of a nice guy, the Christian leader, and way, way, way too forgiving. That sort of. Anyway, I've talked about that before. Okay. And the breaking news. This is actually breaking news. This happened. This was just released, and maybe I should put this as the title. It was released just, I don't know, 1 hour ago, that Russia, their investigation. If you remember the Crocus, they call it the Crocus Massacre, when there were these people from one of the stands, I don't know, Tartus stand, some of these stand people, and they attacked, I think it was a concert, and before the concert started, it was in Moscow. They came with like machine guns, and they killed a lot of people. They killed and injured over 600 people, and some of them were even from Belarus there. I don't know who they were there to see, some kind of a concert anyhow. Really bad, and that's good. Really bad stuff. And anyway, the investigation that the Russians have now come out with, and it wasn't just that they were definitely linked to Ukraine, because that's where they caught him, going back to Ukraine, and the Ukrainian government is involved, but Russia has now determined that it was, let me see if I find out kind of how I wrote this. I wrote it very small. It was governments were behind it. Governments, plural. There were governments, not just one foreign government involved, but governments. And it makes you really wonder, because they didn't mention which governments, and obviously everybody knows that Ukraine was involved in that, but governments. And I am wondering, why didn't they release which governments? Whether it's multiple governments, or is just, the governments meaning Ukraine and another government, or is it, Ukraine as well as governments, which would mean like 3 or more governments, Ukraine and maybe 2 others, or maybe even multiple governments. And I'm kind of believing, the windy place here, I'm kind of believing that it is actually governments besides Ukraine, and we can consider, with the relations right now going on between, the warming of relations between the United States and Ukraine, and the fact that Russia is not releasing which governments are involved in this, it's not very difficult to figure out what other government, at least one of these, is involved in that? And remember, that was Joe Biden's time, not Donald Trump's time. And I would think that maybe Donald Trump would not want to be involved in something like that. But Biden certainly was not against it. And, well, let me just stop beating around the bush here. Obviously, it was, to me, it's very obvious that the Biden government was involved in that as well. So, to what extent, I don't know. Planning? I don't know. Or maybe the weapons or whatever. I don't know. But they found 19 people thus far that were involved in that, and I guess there are, I think they maybe arrested 19 people, and of course they're looking for more. There's that are involved in it. And it's not just the people that actually were conducting it at that time. I don't know how many. I can't remember. I was thinking of maybe the number's about 6, but it led to other people funding, people that were planting the weapons, as they came, into Russia. Of course they didn't carry the weapons with them then, but they had them put into safe, what do they call that? Caches or wherever they had these weapons, and these people, knew where to go get them, and planning on how to get the weapons to the, to the concert, and things like that. I'll tell you what, it's luckily in Belarus, it's much less likely, even though it's always possible everywhere, but it's much less likely that a lot of that kind of stuff happens in Belarus. And it's a lot of us, like I said, foreign people, not just students, foreign people that live in Belarus, are really appreciative of the government of this country and how they actually do try to keep us safe. And I know that one of the things that, I was not told this personally, but I sat in these meetings, and they don't even like the fact that foreigners come out and say positive things about the government. They don't really want that. And I was wondering, well, why is that? Why don't you want us to praise the government of Belarus? And I think a lot of the reasoning is that they feel that if we start saying positive things about the government, there will be oppositions, or not even, I'm not talking about political oppositions, or just those that are opposed to the government, that maybe want to attack us. And it makes it more difficult for the government to try to look out for our safety when we're saying things like that, because some of the main people that they want to attack are going to be foreigners. Anybody that speaks, say there's people that are apt to listen to a foreigner that comes here and knows what it's like in other countries and comes here and compares that to Belarus, and that sort of an opinion will have weight with people that are watching, say, videos and things like that. And a lot of these foreign places, and the people of opposition, like let's call them, they know that, and that's why they want to get rid of people, maybe like myself even. So, and there was apparently a bomb. There was a bomb, and it was planted right near where I live, and I don't know. It's how far was that from my window? It was oh gosh, how many meters is that? Maybe it's like 40 meters away from, but I'm on an upper floor, and maybe, as you know, when you make these videos, you can find out the location of where somebody's at, and I don't know, but I'm not really coming out and I don't know. It's not a big channel, so I don't know. They're not out to get me, I don't think. So, anyway, anything else, Dookie boy? Okay. Well, the only other thing I'm going to say is, like you see Trump, he's talking about, turning Gaza into some rich resort for rich people, and the Gazans can come back as long as they have millions of dollars to buy one of the luxury apartments that, yeah, sure, they're welcome back, They just leave out that part where it's going to cost them a huge amount of money for them to actually live in Gaza, because they won't even be able to afford it, And I guess one reason, Seymour Hersh, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, and he's one of the main people that broke what is probably 99% chance that most of the information is true about what he said about the Nord Stream pipeline bombing, you know, and other things. He's gotten a lot of prizes in his long career for journalism and being very reliable. And he put out that one main reason that what Trump is trying to get a lot of the, well, he's saying that Trump has a goal to lift a lot of the sanctions against Russia for the purpose of getting Russia to go into some sort of a deal with him. Very strange, this stuff, anyway, of him turning Crimea into some big luxury resort, much like what he wants to do with Gaza. And there's just a lot of this stuff. Maybe it's just pipe dreams, things that are never going to happen. I don't know. And then they said, oh, I think the report said, oh, and he also might want to do that with Donbass. Well, why Donbass? There's not even a sea. People want to go to the, Donbass. I don't know if any part of that is actually, maybe it's bordering on the Azov Sea. I don't know. Not on the Black Sea. I don't know. I didn't look so closely at the map because I don't really, I'm not going for this so much. I'm not saying that Seymour Hersh is lying, but I don't think Trump is going to be able to do this, for one thing. But anyway, he wants to turn Crimea into some big luxury resort place. And of course, there are some places you might want to go there. Maybe it's just some certain hotels and stuff. It's not, I don't think he's going to, the whole area. Trump is, it's probably true what Seymour Hersh is saying, but Trump is just going off the deep end a little bit on this. And it's like, I don't know. So that's actually all I have to say. And you remember seeing Bibi Netanyahu and Trump sitting there, and Bibi Netanyahu say, basically, like I said, that's when I was saying that he's probably underneath the podium, and Trump is there announcing, and Bibi Netanyahu is doing a circus seal on him, behind the podium. Oh, the greatest thing. He's the greatest man. The greatest. Look at those hands. The greatest economy. I don't know. It's a bunch of bullshit. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, it's it's just something of interest to look at. I don't think it's real geopolitical news or anything. It's just a bunch of pipe dream crap. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And anyway, that's the end of the video, and I hope you guys like it. I don't know, not getting that many views a lot of time. Anyway, for some odd reason, I guess maybe I got to do like this guy that's in Russia, and he every day he goes and throws his garbage into the garbage can, and goes and buys a can of tomato paste or something, and shows it to his camera, and puts it in his cart, goes home and watches his kids play on the carpet. I guess that you get 10,000 views. Maybe I had to do that. Anyway, just talking. Okay, guys, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.